Now, I'm not one for long presentations, so I'm going to keep my part of the orientation focused and short. 2021 is behind us, and it's time to look ahead to a new year of advanced training within the Guild. The purpose of this session is to review last year's performance and have a level set for what's expected of the coming year. We've all been through a lot in the last year, and I fully expect the coming year to have its share of unexpected opportunities as well. We'll also share expectations and goals. First, thanks is necessary to the entire group for a range of things. That's thanks for listening to this presentation. Thanks for all your hard work out there doing instruction. There wouldn't be any training if we didn't have you as volunteers, and the entire guild appreciates your efforts. Thanks for your patience in scheduling classes. This year, we've had some things like practicum moving around, impacting our schedule. Fortunately, we have a fairly flexible group, and thanks for addressing some of the student issues that we encountered along the way. Everyone appreciates your patience in making these classes a good experience. Thanks for moving the classes later in the day whenever possible. Some people said it couldn't be done, and yet we've done it. Additionally, we've had several new courses developed during the year, even though our environment was very constrained. As usual, though, if you have ideas for a new class, please let me know as soon as you can. We as volunteers are doing a great job of developing the skills of our guild. I look at every feedback sheet that comes in, and nearly every one of them has a glowing review of the classes provided, and that's, of course, for the work that you guys do. Few offer up even suggestions for improvement. That can be a good thing or a bad thing, though, since there's always opportunities to get better. Make sure you talk to your students about providing feedback for the classes. We have a wide range of classes that continue to grow. We're made up of a group of caring individuals who are willing to take the time to help others improve, as well as look to new ways of doing things. And most importantly, we're doing this all together. My son came to visit one Friday coffees earlier when we had coffees, and he has been teaching schools primarily at the high school level for a very long time. And he said he's never seen a more positive, supportive group. You as advanced trainers should share in the credit for that, since you're giving the ability of the guild to tackle more advanced projects and to help each other. One thing I was asked to remind everybody is about the relationship between the advanced instructors and the Red Apron. All advanced trainers with a P card must be prepared to perform the roles of startup and shutdown of the shop, as well as emergency response. If you're unsure of that, you can always go through the Red Apron training again. When you're training and the shop monitor leaves or turns the Red Apron over to you, you're it. You're the shop manager. You should lock the front door if you desire, but take responsibility. If it's early in the day, you may also need to open up the shop, follow that startup process, or at the end of the day, of course, do the whole shutdown, emptying the bags in the trash. Although one thing I would suggest is if when the shop manager is going to turn something over, ask him, have you emptied the trash? Have you emptied the bag for the vacuum? So that you can concentrate on your class. When another P card holder comes in, if it's an open P card time, you should turn the Red Apron over to them immediately. If they won't take it, you should ask them to leave. Another item that's important for instructors is to maintain the shop. When the class is over, make sure everything is clean. Engage the students in that cleanup process, since it's essentially part of what they'll need to know about the tools you're showing them how to use. If it's a P card day or after hours, you got to check the barrel and all the equipment, make sure the blast doors are closed, all that kind of good stuff. Just follow the process. Connect. If there's other classes going on, you got to connect with the other instructors that are around so that they know that they now have the responsibility if you're done. And you were the acting shop manager. If something's broken, make sure you write up a damaged or failed equipment report and notify or put the notation in the manager's report for the end of the day. And double check that any controlled equipment that you were using is locked up. When you're buying lumber or materials for a guild class, that is reimbursed. On the lumber purchase form, you can see there's a place where you can mark it as a guild item that has the type of transaction, as well as you should always fill in the project name. There were a few times in the past year where these forms were entered without all the necessary information for it to be tracked down, and we really need to stop that from happening. Make sure it's for the guild, make sure the project name, and in fact the person who is approving it, since there's another CAM that's required, should check for that, and you might be asked to approve someone else's project purchase, since you might be in there at the same time. So I suggest that you always check for this, and that'll make things run well. Now, this wood that is purchased is actually owned by the students. It was part of the price that was given for the class. So students should have the option of taking home any of the scrap wood or cast-offs of the project. But if not, if they give it to you, then that's fine as well. You could use it for a guild project or something else. We have an instructor-led program. So we don't schedule classes unless the instructor initiates the scheduling process. We need to schedule far enough in advance that the students can plan. Sure, you can always tell me to set up a class next month or even next week, but scheduling by quarter is good. We've had some incidents in the past year where people have scheduled, say, 2 weeks out, and nobody had a chance really to sign up, and so we had to cancel the class. So scheduling out further is great. Some folks have scheduled out for the rest of the year already, and that's even better. Though I will still ask every quarter because I know that things change. Let me know what dates work for you, and I'll validate that it works against the guild schedule. Please note that if you use the resource room, we need to know about it ahead of time when I create the reservation so that it doesn't conflict with anything else that might be going on at a later date. Also, be sure that there's a P card who is assisting you with the class when you set up a schedule. We never know when something might come up and someone else will need to step in and take over. We should try and provide detailed step-by-step handouts that students can refer to after class, ideally with pictures. They may not tackle a material that you teach for months, and so it needs to have enough context that they can execute what they were trained on safely. Pictures are important, especially for visual learners, since it really helps provide a little background on what the words might mean, because sometimes they forget what just a pure text material even means. If you need help with pictures, let me know. You must align the training in your class with the storyboard for a piece of equipment. We should not be teaching anything that goes against what is said on the storyboard. You should send a note to the students before the class. This will help them understand what they are getting into, as well as remind them that they signed up. In the past year, we've had several students just not attend a class that they signed up for because they forgot. And they don't get their money back if it's their fault. Also, when creating a new class, there should always be a dry run and a peer review of the materials to help ensure that we're giving the safest, highest quality materials for our guild. This is an example of a handout, the elements essentially of a handout. It starts with an overview of the class. You can go into detail about the background of what you're going to be producing, as well as the tools involved, etc. So you have a list of all the tools that are being used. Then get into an overview of the first day, as well as a step-by-step guide with pictures that covers each day of the class. At the end of the document, you can also include additional information that the student could use to extend what they've learned. If other tools or other design techniques could be used, this is where you could put that. I mentioned earlier the resource sheet. This sheet describes every resource that you'll need to complete the class on essentially a 30-minute time interval. So if you need, say, the chop saw at an hour into your class and a bandsaw at an hour and 30 minutes, this is where you can document that. This is used to plan your class against all the other classes that are going to be at the shop at the same time. You can also describe the areas of the assembly area or the resource room that you'll need to occupy and what times during the class, and that's also used in the scheduling process. All instructors should work with their assistants to ensure that any materials or pre-work are sent to the students with enough time for them to complete the work ahead of time. If a substitute student is identified, I will try and get that information to you so that you can send it to them as well. If you're going to hand out materials, have them ready before the class begins. Don't take class times running the copy machine or the printer. Instructors should pre-cut and prepare wood to the point that class can begin. Focus class time on the development of new skills, not on areas that the students should already understand, like planing or basic sawing and that kind of thing. It is okay, though, to have homework between sessions that the students can do on their own. It is the instructor's responsibility to validate that the students have met the prerequisites. Do not let the student who shouldn't be there interfere with other students by monopolizing your time. It's fine to tell them that they haven't. And I know one of the things I do is I ask them to show me materials if I can't validate directly that they've met the prerequisites. They can show me and prove to me that they have essentially the skills to perform the tasks. Finally, there should always be 2 P cards in the shop, as I mentioned earlier, when equipment is running. If necessary, it can be one of the students. Now, in any process like this, there are always questions that come up all the time. Like one of them that I hear is, how do I know who's in my class? Each week in the vacancy report that I send out a link at the bottom that should have a list of all the students in the current quarter that have signed up. And you can look up your class on there. It's essentially an Excel spreadsheet. But there's also a whole list of other FAQ questions that are out there that you can look up on your own at any time. And so, because they're all found online. So please feel free to look at that. And I think that's the end of this recorded session. So thank you very much for listening.